Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into a really specific real-world encounter, but one that honestly has lessons for pretty much anyone.
Absolutely. It touches on those interactions with authority that, can happen.
Right. Our mission today is to sort of unpack the legal side, the facts, and maybe some strategies from this one incident. So if you ever find yourself in a similar spot, you'll be a bit more clued in.
Mm.
We're focusing on your rights when police ask for ID, especially when it's over, like a minor infraction.
Yeah, something small that suddenly blows up.
Exactly. And the source we're using, it's an audio recording. It's titled, What to Do When a Cop Illegally Asks for Your ID. Onus owns the cop. Know your rights and know the law. The creator is John Masters.
And it's not just theory, right? It starts very concretely.
Totally. It kicks off with this guy,
Mm.
an American, just cycling down the road, and he just didn't stop at a red light. Simple mistake.
Happens all the time.
But it turns into this standoff,
Mm-hmm.
and it reveals quite a bit about citizen rights. And like the source points out, it's not just about bikes. It could be jaywalking, spitting.
Yeah, or spit on the sidewalk, or, like he says, hundreds of thousands of other laws. Little things.
So right away, the officer gets straight to it, asks him, you have your ID with you?
Direct demand.
And the cyclist's response is just as direct, I don't have my ID on me. And then, I'm not required to have an ID with me.
Firm. But the officer doesn't drop it.
No, keeps asking. Wants to see that ID.
And this is where, John Masters, the guy who made the video, he really stresses this core idea. If an officer is telling you to do something, giving an order,
Yeah.
he needs a solid legal reason. He needs to follow the law. He should be able to actually, cite the specific law.
Not just say, because I said so.
Exactly. And you often hear that police response, well, you can look it up later, but Masters is clear, that's not good enough. Why should you have to do the legal research after the fact?
Right. So the cyclist pushes back, asks that really critical question.
Which is,
What law says that I have to do so? What law says that I need to cooperate? Why is asking that specific question so powerful here?
well, asking for the specific law, it's a game changer sometimes.
Yeah.
The source points out that officers often, they won't answer you because there is no law and they know it.
Ah, okay. So it calls their bluff in a way.
Sort of. It highlights whether they actually have the legal grounds for that demand right then and there. It can really shift things.
Then it gets kind of weird. The officer says, I have no way to verify who you are, but he literally just said the cyclist's name, like moments before.
Yeah, that's what the source calls typical police doublespeak.
Doublespeak.
Yeah, using confusing language, maybe contradicting themselves. It's often a tactic, to pressure you, to twist words around and confuse you, maybe get you to cooperate when you don't actually have to.
Okay, that makes sense. And this seems like a good time to bring in that court case you mentioned.
Right, Hybel. It's Hybel v. 6th Judicial District Court of Nevada. Super important here.
So what did Hybel actually establish?
Okay, so the Supreme Court said, basically, if you're being detained because there's probable cause, meaning solid facts suggesting you committed a specific crime, or if you're actually being arrested,
Then what?
then you only have to provide your name and date of birth. That's it. Nothing more. Period.
Name and date of birth. Got it.
But crucially, this doesn't apply if they just have reasonable suspicion, which is like a specific hunch, but less than probable cause, or if it's what's called a voluntary investigation, where you could technically just walk away.
So in those less serious situations, the ID requirement is different. Or maybe non-existent?
It's a much more limited, yeah. You aren't automatically required to produce, a physical ID card in those cases based on Hybel. Just giving your name and date of birth is often enough, if they even have the grounds to detain you in the first place.
And the cyclist in the video, he seemed to get this. He calls the officer out, saying, you just said my name when you showed up.
Exactly. He's sharp. He recognized the inconsistency. He knew his rights at that moment.
Okay, so the interaction keeps going. The officer then orders the cyclist, get off your bike.
A direct order.
And the cyclist, again, clarifies, are you ordering me to? Officer says, yes, I'm ordering you to get off your bike.
Right. Now, legally, the Supreme Court has said police can order someone out of a vehicle during a stop.
Like a car.
Yeah, like a car. And the thinking is that this would actually follow under that law for a bicycle, too. It's considered a vehicle in many contexts.
So the officer can order him off the bike?
Technically, yes, based on that precedent, but there's a wrinkle. The source notes the Supreme Court ruling never provided a remedy.
A remedy. What does that mean?
It means it didn't really spell out the consequences if you don't comply in a situation where maybe getting out isn't actually necessary for safety or the investigation. So it's potentially fightable whether you must exit if the circumstances don't really seem to justify it.
Interesting. So, okay, he's off the bike, but the questioning continues. The police want more info: height, weight, driver's license number.
Standard stuff they ask for, yeah.
But the cyclist refuses. He just keeps saying, I'm not required to have a driver's license on me when I'm riding a bicycle, which is true.
He's sticking to his guns about what's legally required in that specific context. Riding a bike doesn't require a driver's license.
Then the officer drops the big one. Or I can arrest you and take you to jail.
The arrest threat, yeah, that escalates things.
But the source makes a really important distinction here about what that might actually mean.
It does, and this is crucial. If you refuse to give more info beyond what's required, like name and date of birth, in a valid detention, they might take you to the station. But the source stresses it's just to fingerprint you and identify who you are.
So it's not necessarily a formal arrest.
According to Masters, no. You are not under arrest in that specific scenario. It's detention for identification purposes. He says it usually doesn't take long to do, and you don't have to sit in the holding cell with everyone else.
Still not ideal, obviously.
Definitely not. But Masters argues it's worth to take that chance, rather than giving up information you're not legally required to provide. It's a calculated risk knowing the specific procedure.
And you mentioned state laws vary, too.
Hugely important. Laws are different everywhere. The source gives a specific California example regarding satisfactory identification.
That's the California rule.
In California, apparently, the police can require a thumbprint. If you refuse to give a thumbprint after being lawfully detained and ask for ID,
Then a risk.
then, according to the source, you can be taken into custody until you're ID'd. Again, the emphasis is not arrested, just until you're ID'd.
Okay. And the cyclist in the video knew this.
Seems like it. When his ID is questioned later, he actually offers a thumbprint. Shows he knew the specific California procedure.
Wow. Okay, another thing you notice listening to the audio is how the officer keeps interrupting. He won't let the cyclist finish, won't really answer his direct questions.
Yeah, the source calls it the master asks the question, the slave answers dynamic. It's about controlling the conversation.
Trying to maintain control by just asking, not answering.
Right. And that brings up a really, really vital point the source makes about how you should behave in these
The
situations.
jizz.
Silence. The advice is blunt. You do not discuss, you do not get in conversation, you do not say anything at all, you remain silent.
Or you shut down, don't engage.
Pretty much. Beyond providing legally required information like your name and DOB if lawfully detained. Why? Because anything else you say can be twisted, used against you, or just lead to confusion. Staying silent prevents that.
Is there anything specific you should say if you feel pressured?
Yes, the source offers a specific phrase. I don't understand the question. I need an attorney to interpret it.
Invoking the need for a lawyer.
Exactly. It's a clear signal you're asserting your rights and won't be pushed into answering potentially incriminating or unnecessary questions without legal counsel.
Okay. Now, something practical the source mentions. These hidden marks on tickets.
Yeah, this is interesting. It says officers sometimes, not everywhere, but it's common, put little notes or symbols on a traffic ticket.
Why? What for?
To signal to the judge whether the person was cooperative or difficult, and the source claims judges often do it, meaning they often take that signal into account, maybe unconsciously.
So the cyclist checking his ticket at the end.
That's why. He's looking for any little marks, anything that might prejudice the judge against him before he even gets to speak.
Okay, so towards the end, the officer tries to justify the ID demand by mentioning vehicle code 42302A.
Right, trying to finally cite something, implying this code required the ID.
But this is where the cyclist really nails it down, right? It gets really specific.
Oh yeah, the questioning is surgical. He asks, did you cite me for that? Meaning for violating 42302A.
And the officer's answer.
No.
Then the cyclist pushes. Would you like to cite me for that? Like, go ahead, write the ticket for that specific offense.
And the officer has to admit.
Not a citable offense. Boom.
Exactly. The very law the officer brought up as justification wasn't actually something he could write a ticket for in that situation regarding the ID. The admission is right there.
Even when the officer tries one last warning, like, well, because the next guy may arrest you for it.
Yeah, but John Masters jumps on that in the commentary, saying, basically, no, the next officer is not going to be able to arrest you for it because it's not against the law to not carry ID in that specific circumstance.
So the specific questions really force the truth out.
Absolutely. It shows the power of not just knowing your rights, but knowing how to ask pointed questions to confirm the officer's legal basis or lack thereof.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are the main things people should take away from this deep dive?
Well, I think a few key things stand out. First, the requirement to show ID isn't automatic. It really depends on the level of suspicion, probable cause, versus reasonable suspicion versus just a voluntary chat.
Right. And knowing that just your name and date of birth is often enough if you are lawfully detained.
Exactly. That's a critical piece of info. And then the strategies. Asking clearly what specific law requires this, and the power of remaining silent. Don't get drawn into unnecessary conversation.
It really does feel like knowing just those two key pieces of info, name, date of birth, and the right questions, acts almost like a shield. Simplifies things, maybe.
It simplifies your obligation, yeah. It draws clear lines. And connecting this to the bigger picture, I mean, this whole encounter just hammers home how important it is to be an informed citizen.
Knowing the actual rules of the game, not just assuming.
Precisely. Knowing the specific laws, knowing your rights, like the cyclist did here, it can genuinely protect you from potential overreach. And sometimes you might even end up educating the officer on the finer points of the law they're trying to enforce.
Yeah, that's a powerful position to be in.
It really is.
So that kind of leaves us with a final question for you, the listener, to think about. Building on what we've discussed, what are the common assumptions we make about, say, everyday legal stuff or interactions with authority? What else might be worth questioning? And maybe, how could applying these same principles, like asking for specifics, knowing the actual rules, how could that empower you in other parts of your life? Not just legal encounters, but anywhere where knowing the facts really counts.